Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. In my last video of my wish list for UFC 5, I talked about the career mode. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to leave a description or a link in the description below. But today I want to talk about the ground game and submissions for UFC. Rude. So as I was saying, I wanted to talk about the submission and ground game in the current UFC games and how I think they could be improved in the next installment. In this first clip, right, I'm going to be going into a quick match to kind of go over my little nitpicks in the current UFC game. Okay, so as we go into quick match here, I'm going to go into the lightweight division and I'm going to pick Charles Oliveira. I picked Charles because he has 100% in submission offense. He's very competent when it comes to submissions. I mean, he has the most submission wins in the UFC for a reason. And I'm going to choose to go against Justin Gaethje. And I chose Justin Gaethje because his submission offense is not, or his submission defense is not very good. It's only an 89. So there's a pretty big difference between offense and defense between these two fighters. Okay, so as I go for this head and arm here, a few things I want to point out. First, look at our stamina. It's about even. There's no distinguishable advantage. And I want you to look at the two bars in the center. Now, despite the big gap in submission offense and defense between these two, our bars are about the same. And as you know, in this game, if you want to submit your opponent, you have to overlap your opponent's bar. That's how you progress your submission, and obviously if you're trying to defend, you want to keep away from your opponent trying to overlap you. As I'm about to finish this first submission here, I'm going to go into why I feel that stamina should play a bigger role into these submissions. If you jump into the second clip here, you'll notice that I have a very big stamina advantage over Justin Gaethje. And as I go into this triangle here, I want you to look at the size of the bars. Much like the first clip, it's actually the same size. So despite having a big advantage when it comes to submission offense and a significant stamina advantage, there's no real difference in bar size. And I feel like that should be a lot more significant, especially when it comes to the next installment of the UFC games. He got it, John. How about it? Gets the win by submission. Okay, so that was the clips in UFC 4. Now, I want to go over the game that I feel personally did the ground game the most justice, which is UFC Undisputed 3. He's gonna try to put in the... So in this clip, we have Uriah Faber going for a rear naked choke on the back of Damacio Page. Look at this. Uriah Faber has a significant stamina advantage, and he already has high submission offense rating. So you can see a significant difference in the bar sizes here. It's the same mini game that we saw in UFC 4. But because of the circumstances in this submission, he's able to lock this in so much easier and submit his opponent so much faster. It's over. It is all over. So anyone that's ever done jiu-jitsu knows that experience plays a pretty big factor. If you're a blue belt going against a brand new white belt, odds are you're going to be able to tap them out pretty easily, right? But if you're a blue belt going against like a brown or purple belt, you're going to have a significantly harder time trying to submit them, unless you're a prodigy. So what I'm getting at is I feel like UFC Undisputed 3 did the best job of finding a system to represent the gap between submission defense and submission offense between fighters, also taking into accountability their stamina at any given moment. If you're deadbeat tired, you're gonna have a much harder time trying to defend submissions. And in my examples for UFC 4, you saw that despite the big gap in submission offense and defense between Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje, the bar size didn't change, and it took about the same amount of time to submit him. regardless of how tired he was or not. So if you like to play every UFC game that comes out, you probably noticed that there was a pretty significant change when it comes to the ground game, going from the Undisputed series into EA Sports UFC. And the EA Sports UFC franchise, they changed the ground game, and I think they did it so that more players would have a better understanding or easier time, trying to learn the ground game compared to UFC Undisputed 3. Because in UFC Undisputed 3, a lot of the transitions were done with I think it was like the right analog stick, and depending on what kind of transition you wanted to do, you had to like move the stick in a bunch of different ways. And when EA Sports took over the UFC franchise, they made it a lot simpler to do these transitions. But in doing so, they really took away like the ability to truly flow on the ground. And I'm gonna leave like clips in this video so you know what I'm talking about. But being able to flow and like reverse and grapple in UFC Undisputed 3, like it was by far, in my opinion, like the best representation of how good grappling can be in a game. So let's just take a moment to appreciate the grappling in this clip, right? We got Matt Hughes going against Carlos Ruden. Look how Carlos Ruden uses the cage to stand back up. Matt Hughes is going to go for a takedown and slam him back to the ground. As he kind of circles back to the cage here. Carlos Ruden is going to use his butterfly sweep right into side control. Matt Hughes is also going to go into butterfly guard of his own. But look at this. Reversal right to mount. And now Carlos Ruden is going to do a reversal right back in the guard. I mean, these transitions are just not in UFC 4. You cannot grapple the same. Another thing that I really enjoyed from UFC Undisputed 3 was the unique animations for certain fighters. I mean, in that game, if you were using someone like Matt Hughes or GSP, you could have unique takedown animations that are different from other fighters on the roster. It was a pretty good addition. I'd like to see it brought back.
And the slam.
Honestly, I've talked about UFC Undisputed 3 so much in this video. If they ever got a remastered version of that game, I would buy it in a heartbeat. No lie. In all honesty, these are just the things that I like to see brought back in the next installment of UFC. I don't know if UFC 5 would bring any of these features back, right? But I like to try to be an optimist. Alright. Anyway, this has just been my little rant for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions of your own, be sure to leave them in the comments below. With that being said, hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you all in the next one.